What's up, Eagles fans, and welcome back to the Film Room presented by Chickies and Pete's. I'm Fran Duffy, and we're going to continue today taking a look at the Eagles' 2020 NFL Draft class. And we've already taken a look at Jalen Reagor. We've looked at Jalen Hurts. Last week we did Davion Taylor. Today we're going to do the Eagles' fourth-round pick, Jack Driscoll, their first of two fourth-round picks in this April's draft. And this is an offensive lineman from Auburn, a guy that I have really liked over the last couple of years. The first time I watched Jack Driscoll, right about a year ago, was last summer before his senior season, and I really liked what I saw from him. Try-hard guy, was always going 100 miles an hour, and I liked the way that he was always comfortable. This was a guy that never seemed stressed with what he was doing. He transferred over from UMass, was a two-year starter for a former Eagles assistant, actually, in Mark Whipple up at UMass, transferred down to Auburn, became a starter right away at right tackle, and the rest is history. He was a four-year college starter, has played three different positions, left tackle, left guard, and right tackle throughout the course of his career. Good versatility. Let's dive into the film. Again, we're going to start things off with all plays that I tagged of him as I was studying him throughout the course of not just last summer, but then through the fall and then early this spring. So just getting a little bit of a sense. These aren't going to be all of his highlight plays, but they're just plays that I kind of tagged as I was watching and said, you know what, this is interesting, kind of speaks to the player that the Eagles are getting here in Jack Driscoll. So we're going to take a look at this first play. And again, I talk about the offensive line position, and it's not a position where things are always going to be pretty, right? You're moving in a little bit of an unnatural state. You're moving in reverse. The defensive line, more often than not, they're going to be a little bit more athletic. They're the aggressors. They're coming at you in a more natural position of going forward. I like guys that are able to recover and find ways to get it done. And I also like guys that have a little bit of an edge, a little bit of a mean streak to them. And you could see that here on this play from Jack Driscoll. Again, he's going to be the right tackle in all these clips, number 71. I'll try and circle him every single play. But he's going to just drop back in his pass set here. And what I like is very calm feet. You notice that he doesn't look stressed. And again, once he locks in, the ball comes out. Just watch him here at the end. See him try to finish here. I thought that Jack Driscoll was one of the better finishers of guys that I watch. And I'm always looking for guys. When I was at Temple, we called it torque defensive, torque defenders, where basically you're going to get them on the run, you're locked in, and you're trying to twist and turn, try and torque them into the ground, drill them into the turf. And I think that he's always a guy that's always going to kind of bring that edge to him. You see him here, try and torque that guy at the very end, he gets loose. Now, on the very next play, again, this is the second series of this game. This is the junior season against LSU. So this is 2018 film that we're watching here of Jack Driscoll. Here he's going to be matched up against a wide technique. You see him here, he's the right tackle. He's matched up against a wide 9 rusher in a 2-point stance. So he's got to make sure that he gets to his landmark here. Don't let him turn the corner on you and get to the quarterback. And this is Jarrett Stidham at quarterback. You just see the ease of movement here as he kind of flies out of his stance. I thought his play speed was really good. Jack Driscoll, he was really quick to get out of his stance, both in a 2-point and in a 3-point stance. Run game, pass game, didn't matter. I thought that he was really quick with that first initial movement. And you see him get to his landmark again, not stressed. I had somebody a long time ago give me a little bit of a tip on watching offensive linemen and getting a sense of how good are their feet. And you're always looking for guys that are able to stay under control. Everybody's a different level of athlete. Some guys have longer stride lengths than others. You always want guys that are under control. And one good way to see whether a guy is under control is kind of watch their helmet. Okay, if their helmet's jostling back and forth like a bobblehead doll, chances are they can't see what they're about to hit. You can think about that if you're driving in a car and it's a nice smooth ride, you're able to see everything. If you're going over a bumpy road, it gets a little bit more difficult to be able to see what you're doing, right? And focus in on what your task is. Here, when you watch Jack Driscoll, again, just kind of watch his helmet, number 71 on the right side. Very easy, very natural, very still, very calm, and he's able to make sure that pass rusher doesn't turn the corner. Now, on this next play here, it's going to be the next quarter, a couple drives later. I want you to see Jack Driscoll kind of drop his anchor a little bit here. And Jarrett Stidham breaks the pocket, and he's going to throw this ball. It actually is complete along the sideline. But I want you to watch here. There's Driscoll, again, at right tackle. You're going to see him here in this pass set. Again, very easy with his feet. Very calm, very collected. You see him kind of drop the anchor there. And what I mean by drop your anchor is that he's going to drop his weight. You're going to see him sit down and not give up any more ground. So I want you to, again, watch Jack Driscoll here. He's going to get out of his stance. There's the pass rusher. He tries to flash that long arm, and then watch him get ready to sit right there. He sits down. You see the natural knee bend right there, right? You don't see a guy bending over at the waist and getting overextended. He's in a good athletic position, nice strong base. He's got his eyes up. He's seeing everything. Now the quarterback's going to break this pocket here, and the pass rusher is going to kind of get home. That's not on Driscoll, but I liked the rep there overall from what Driscoll did. Great catch there along the sideline. Now, we're going to go to another game here against Georgia, and this is actually a really fun play because it kind of speaks to his mental processing and his understanding of what defenses are trying to do. We're going to take a look just a little bit wider here. This is a double mug front from Georgia. And what is a double mug front? Basically what I'm looking at is you've got 4 potential rushers, right? You got your 2 defensive tackles split out wide. You've got a defensive end over here, another stand-up rusher, potential blitzer off this side. And then you've got 2 stand-up linebackers right over the center. Okay, so this is what's called a double mug front. We see this a lot in the NFL. Very, very common. Mike Zimmer, this was a big thing. Jim Johnson really got things going here with this kind of look with the Eagles in the 2000s. So this is a 6-man front, and the offense has to try and figure out how they're going to block this up because any number of these 6 players could come. Now, the offensive line, typically what you're going to try and do is you're going to have the offensive line account for the 4, 2, 3, 4 players on the outside, and your center and running back are going to handle these 2 guys on the inside. And so really what Jack Driscoll is going to do is he's going to understand, okay, am I on the slide side of the protection or the man side of the protection? And we can really, I can go down a deep rabbit hole here, but if you want a little bit more on this topic, go check out, it was back in late June, the Coach's Masterclass series I did with Eagles defensive line coach and run game coordinator Matt Burke. Really dove into breaking down protections and what defenses try to do with fronts just like this. But without diving too much into the weeds, what we're looking at here is that the offensive line, I'll just clear this real quick, the offensive line is going to slide their protection to the right. All right, so that means that Jack Driscoll, again, who's right here, he is responsible for this player or anybody that ends up in this gap on his outside shoulder right here, okay? So he's responsible for anything there. Now, we're just going to fast forward this just a second, and you get a sense of what the defense is trying to do. He sees, look at his eyes, look Jack Driscoll, he's looking at his responsibility, right? He sees that this defensive end looks like he's going to be coming. Now, the next step that this defensive end is going to take actually makes him look like he might drop or bluff. And I want you to see that Jack Driscoll is going to get his eyes back inside, right? Because once he sees, all right, this is a soft rush, he's actually not coming. He's trying to occupy me so I can't help my offensive guard. So he's going to get his eyes inside to try and help the offensive guard here, to try and help his teammate, make sure that he's going to get his pound of flesh on this play. So if he can't get that defensive end, he's going to get somebody. So we're going to come back here. We're going to reset this. Now, look at Jack Driscoll's eyes. Once he sees that defensive end looks like he's going to drop, he's going to get his eyes in not just to help that offensive guard, but also make sure there's not somebody else looping back this way. So watch Driscoll again. Eyes inside. He sees no one's coming. So he's like, oh, I got to make sure I block this defensive end. So what I liked about this play was you kind of get to see the gears going in Jack Driscoll's head, right? He understands that this is a little bit of an exotic front, a little bit of a sub-package front here from the Georgia Bulldogs. He has to understand that, hey, if my guy's not coming, they're sending someone else my way. I have to be ready for whatever the defense is going to give me. So again, his first responsibility is going to be sliding to the right. Once he sees that his man it's a little bit of a light rush right off the snap, he gets his eyes inside, sees if there's anybody coming his way. There's nobody coming his way. And he says, all right, I got to make sure that I'm blocking this defensive end. And he does a good job protecting the corner. You see the feet, you see the finish. He's able to wash his guy upfield beyond the quarterback, and the quarterback takes off. Now, I alluded to that Coach's Masterclass with Matt Burke, and the very first Coach's Masterclass is one you don't want to miss. And I learned a lot in this segment from Jeff Stoutland, the Eagles offensive line coach and run game coordinator. One of the things that he talked about in that segment was what's called surfacing a block, and really get a sense of what it takes, the kind of the synchronized swimming along the offensive line in the zone run game, and how these guys, when they're going into their double teams, it's not just, hey, we're just going to go and just kind of clobber this guy. They all have landmarks and parts of the body that they're trying to strike. And so a guard has to understand, hey, here's the part that I'm trying to hit so that my tackle, he's got room to be able to make contact, and we can really make the most out of this double team. So I want you to watch here. this double team from the right guard and the right tackle for Auburn. Obviously, the right tackle right here, that's Driscoll. All right, so this is going to be just a simple run block. He's coming off the ball in a three-point stance. Watch this double team. Again, understanding how to surface this block. The right guard has that left side of the defensive tackle. You can see right here, Driscoll is going to hit the outside number. He's going to try and make sure that he can get this guy to the ground. Now, Driscoll's not the most powerful player, right? He's not this big, strong people mover that's going to consistently drive guys backwards, right? He's built a little bit different. He's 310 pounds. He's 6'4.5". He's not a Matt Pryor or a Brandon Brooks or a Lane Johnson who's just going to overpower people snap after snap after snap. So he's going to have to win in a little bit of a different way. He's got to be more technically sound. He's got to be a smart player. And I think when you look at him here, he's able to get this man to the ground because of his understanding of how he's going to surface this block. And he does a great job here on this double team of the three technique, making sure they get him on the ground. It's not a run play. It's an RPO. The ball comes out and they pick up 7 yards on the little screen to the outside. But again, just speak to the smarts of a Jack Driscoll. Now, a few plays later, we're going to take a look at another pass set here. And when I talked earlier about how it's not always pretty with offensive linemen, right? You're going to have to learn how to recover. And that's one thing over the last couple of years that I've really grown to really make important for me personally as I'm watching offensive linemen. They have to be able to recover because you're going to get beat. It's like a corner playing in the NFL as well. You're going to get beat. Wide receivers are too good. The other guys on the other side are too good. You're not going to pitch a perfect game every single time you go out. So how are you going to recover, not just from the next play mentally, hey, we're going to have a short memory and forget about it, but mid-play, do you have the athleticism to be able to put yourself in a position, maybe you're not going to win the rep, but make sure you get at least a stalemate. Don't get that quarterback hit. And so I want you to watch here. Here's Driscoll matched up with this defensive end. Again, 2-point stance, a little bit of a wider technique. The defensive end's going to come off. Driscoll throws his hand. Now, offensive linemen, they're going to always try and throw off the timing of the defensive end with how they throw their punch, right? Sometimes they might throw it early. Sometimes they might be a little bit more patient, but they want to mix it up because if the defensive end gets a bead on how quickly you're throwing your hands, well, now they can try and throw different moves in to be able to knock those hands down and win clean. So offensive linemen are constantly trying to mix things up. I think Driscoll does a good job of that. Now, he gets caught a little bit here. Again, he's going to throw that quick punch on this one, and the defensive end just happens to be throwing a little bit of a chop move, and he's going to knock those hands down. All right, so Driscoll, he's got his hips to the sideline, typically not a good position to be in. But you see the athletic ability here from Driscoll, and I'll just rewind it and we'll play this full speed. You see the athletic ability here from Driscoll. Watch him recover, ride the hoop with the defensive end, and ride him out. Now we'll just play it in slow motion. Again, you're going to see him get beat a little bit with the chop, but you see he doesn't give up on the play. He's able to get his hands on the back shoulder of the defensive end and ride him out of the picture. Love seeing that from Jack Driscoll. Now, we're going to go to a few plays later. This is a little bit later in the game. It's third quarter, and I want you to see Jack Driscoll here lined up in a 3-point stance. I think a lot of people think of Auburn, they think of spread offense. Oh, these guys are all in a 2-point stance. No, they did put their hand on the ground a little bit, and you can see him fire off the ball. Here he is lined up against what's called a 4-eye technique. And what is a 4-eye technique? I think a lot of people know what like a 3 technique is, or a 1 technique, or a 5 technique, but you don't often hear of a 4-eye. So real quickly, I'll just kind of go through it. Really, when you're looking at a defensive lineman lined up on the outside shoulder of an offensive guard, that's a 3 technique. If he is lined up on the inside shoulder of the tackle, so still in the same gap, still in the B gap, but on the inside shoulder, which you can see there's a defensive lineman there just on the inside shoulder, the inside shade of that offensive tackle of Jack Driscoll, that is what's called a 4-eye. If he was lined up on the outside shoulder of Jack Driscoll, that would be a 5. So again, all you're doing here, and I'll just kind of finish this out for us, is you've got a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. And all they're doing, again, is just kind of counting gaps straight along, all across. You've got your A gap, you've got your B gap, and your C gap, and all those different techniques obviously just look a little bit different. Now, a 4-eye technique, a 4-technique defensive lineman against a tackle, that can be a little bit of a tough block because they've got that inside jump. If that tackle is responsible for the B gap, the defensive lineman, he's got a little bit of a head start into that gap, and so that can be a little bit of a tough block. I want you to watch Jack Driscoll, though, on this play, and this is a run play, and he's going to try and block this 4-eye technique. Watch the finish here from Jack Driscoll. Again, three-point stance, a projectable play to the NFL. You see the good hand placement, and you just watch the finish. Again, just watching this block right here. That's Driscoll lined up against the 4-eye technique. Watch the finish here from Jack Driscoll as he's going to get his hands inside, comes off the ball, good pad level, runs his feet, and then torques this guy, gets him onto the ground. Really love this finish. Not onto the ground, but gets him completely out of that picture. Love that. So we're going to go now a couple series later, fourth quarter, okay? And now I want you to watch another pass pro play here from Jack Driscoll. Now, it's going to be another slide protection here from this right side of the Auburn offensive line, all right? So he's going to be sliding to his right in pass protection, and this might look like a little bit of an overset, but again, he's trying to get out there quick against a little bit of a wider technique. This is like a 7 or a 9 technique defensive end. I want you to watch first. You see the play speed, him get out quickly. Here's what I love from Jack Driscoll. Watch the strong, this is called a post hand, that inside hand from the offensive lineman right here. Stop that pass rusher really on contact, and now he doesn't let go. You can see he's got that pass rusher on his heels. He's got him on skates. He does a great job stopping that momentum with his inside hand, which can be a little bit tough to do. He gets out there, protects the corner. Once he sees the defensive end trying to work inside, he gets that inside hand inside the pads of the defensive end, and it's all over from there. Now, we're going to fast forward to 2019. So this will be our first look at Jack Driscoll as a senior, and this is week 1. Huge matchup in the opening weekend of college football. Auburn versus Oregon, pro prospects on both sides of the line of scrimmage, defensive line, offensive line. That front seven from Oregon really disruptive last year. So we're going to take a look at how Driscoll performed in that game. Now, this is the second series of the game. It's 1st and 10, and I want you to watch Driscoll. Again, number 71, here he is here. This is going to be, once again, a slide protection, but instead, he's going to be sliding inside. So he's going to be responsible for whoever appears in this gap. Now, you can see he's got a 5 technique defensive end lined up right on top of him, right? Here's that defensive end right on top of him. If this linebacker comes, that's who he's responsible for. And you can see that linebacker kind of hugged up pretty close to the line of scrimmage here. Watch at the snap of the ball. Driscoll, eyes up. He's got his eyes on that linebacker because he knows that he's that immediate threat in this gap, and that's Driscoll's responsibility. But he's not going to just leave his tight end out to dry because his tight end has to worry about that defensive lineman. So he's going to initially strike that defensive lineman, help out. Look at his eyes. Where's Driscoll looking? Into that inside gap, into that B gap, because that's his responsibility. He's going to strike that linebacker, does a good job getting off the defensive lineman in time, keeps the freshman quarterback clean. The quarterback's able to drop back and connect on a 38-yard pass on this deep corner route. That's a great job in protection from Jack Driscoll. Now, one of the things that I'm always looking for with offensive linemen, it can always be a little bit difficult to gauge just how athletic guys are, because some teams some teams more than others, you'll see them out in space, you'll see the screen game, you'll see perimeter run plays, option run plays to the perimeter, where you can get a sense of hey, this is how this guy looks out on the move. But sometimes you kind of have to look for some little things. In this play, this is nothing like that you're going to write home about. This isn't going to be on his highlight reel, but just kind of getting a sense of how naturally athletic Jack Driscoll is. And here he is here again, number 71, your right tackle. He's going to execute a pretty athletic move here for an offensive lineman, where he's just going to kind of get skinny. You see him get his feet up and down through that hole, because the right guard, he kind of gets held up on contact a little bit here. Watch Driscoll, right tackle, number 71, get his feet up and down, get skinny, and put himself in position to make this block at the second level. Again, this play goes for a loss. It's a 3-yard loss, but get a sense of how athletic he is. Now, let's fast forward to a few games later against Florida, and again, kind of going to that play personality. You're always looking for those offensive linemen with a little bit of an edge. Jack Driscoll's got that edge. Just another example of that. Again, here he is at right tackle. He's going to be matched up here against this defensive end. I want you to see Driscoll first come off the ball. You see the change of direction there, and then watch the attempt to finish. Again, just always looking to get the last word in against the defensive lineman. He's not going to let up early in the play. He's always going to run his feet on contact. Love seeing that from an offensive lineman. Now, I talked earlier about a guy's ability to stay comfortable in his pass set, right? Some guys, come off the ball and their feet might be going a million miles an hour, right? But like I mentioned, you look for little signs of whether a guy feels comfortable in his stance, if he feels comfortable in his set, if he feels comfortable in contact. That just shows that they're able to maintain control. They're playing with a strong base. They're athletic. Here you're going to see a defensive end who's going to try and throw a little bit of a stutter move, and that's something that defensive linemen will try to do against offensive linemen. to get them out of control, to get them outside of their comfort zone. And I love here what we're going to see from Jack Driscoll. Again, here he is at right tackle matched up against this defensive end, number 58. 58's going to come off the ball. This is, again, they instilled that in that Florida game. You see that little hesitation move, right? He's trying to throw a little bit of a stutter at him so that he can say, okay, let's see if I can kind of throw him off balance. But Driscoll's not having any of it. He stutters his feet, but watch him still maintain control here and block the corner. The guard comes over and cleans this up. Love seeing that, though, from Driscoll. The ability to stay under control ends up being a touchdown. Now let's fast forward to the LSU game. This will be the last game that we will take a look at with Jack Driscoll. Again, some plays that I kind of tagged of him as I was studying him. And these are the first two plays of that LSU game. Auburn-LSU, no love lost between those two teams. Really good college football rivalry. Now, you're going to see Jack Driscoll once again lined up at right tackle. What does he got across from him? A 4-eye technique. I want you to watch the play personality here. I say this all the time, but watch the finish from Jack Driscoll. He's always going. Look at him seeing try and torque. Even though he's not going, you see, he's still even giving second, third effort. Jack Driscoll is always coming at you. Love seeing that from an offensive lineman at all times. Love the play personality from Jack Driscoll, and that's going to continue here on this next play. Again, second play of the game. So they came out, they knew what the mindset was going to be of this game. Remember, LSU was undefeated. Auburn actually had them on their heels in the first half of this game. The defense really held up their end of the bargain. The offense came out. They wanted to play smash mouth football, get after that LSU defense, and that mindset was really driven by that offensive line. Again, lined up here against a 4 technique, someone that's on the inside gap, and you're going to watch here, again, just the finish, always running his feet, always trying to get the best of the defensive lineman across from him. Now, on this next play, we're going to look at Jack Driscoll. You're going to see that athleticism, that ability to make some plays out in space. And again, here's Jack Driscoll at right tackle, number 71. You're going to see the ball is snapped. It's 3rd and long. Watch him get out into space. And again, you just see the ease of movement here as he's going to run his man out of bounds. Eagles fans are all very aware of how the Eagles use a guy like Jason Kelce. When you have offensive linemen like this that have that natural ability, not just to make play, to reach blocks and be used as a puller, but to be used in the screen game. You could be a real weapon for an offense with your ability to get to the 2nd and 3rd level. So watch, again, Driscoll here. You see that burst. You see the lateral mobility. The ability to find a target on the move out in space. It's a little bit unique to be able to find guys that have that level of athletic ability, and Driscoll certainly has that search and destroy mentality in space. Now, we're going to take a look, 2 more plays here that we've got at Jack Driscoll. Once again, lined up, right tackle. You can see the defensive front on his side. You can see what he's kind of dealing with. He's in a 3-point stance. Watch him come off the ball, gets up to the 2nd level, and again, always looking to finish, always looking to let the defense know, hey, this is what you're going to be seeing every single play today. And this is, again, number 71. Watch him get a chunk of the defensive tackle, get up to the 2nd level, and then just look to finish. He gets that linebacker off balance, and he's going to give him the business at the end. Now, one final play, and this is kind of an interesting play here from Jack Driscoll. It's going to be a pass protection play, and I want you to just watch him lined up here against the LSU defense. We started this segment with LSU in 2018. We're going to end it with LSU in 2019. Again, he's got a defensive lineman right in front of his face. He's going to drop back, get his eyes inside. Now, Driscoll has shorter arms for an offensive tackle, right? They're on the shorter side. So what you'll often see with offensive linemen that have the shorter arms at the college level is that when a defensive lineman will try and take advantage of that, you see that defensive lineman, number 45, and he's maximizing his length, right? He's got his arm completely outstretched because he knows he's longer than Driscoll. So if he's able to get his hands inside and lock his arms out, he's not going to be able to get his hands on the defensive lineman. So I want you to watch what Driscoll does here. He understands what the defensive lineman's trying to do. Right there, chops the defensive lineman's arms down to the ground. Now, not everybody teaches this. If you remember, we go back to my film breakdown of Andre Dillard last year after the draft. Jeff Stoutland talked about, I used to teach this technique when I was in college. Don't teach it now in the NFL. And he talked about the different reasons why. But here's what I like about it, is that at least Jack Driscoll is showing that he has an understanding of what the defense is trying to do, and he has an understanding of how he's going to try and combat that. You can teach techniques, and that's why a lot of scouts will say, I don't care about the techniques that a guy's using. If a guy needs to be fixed, we're going to rely on our coaches to get that stuff straightened out. We're looking for raw ability. I think when you look at Jack Driscoll here, this technique is not going to be one that he's going to be coached to use in the NFL by Jeff Stoutland, but at least it shows you that he's always kind of thinking of how he's going to try and get an edge on the guy across from him. Love seeing that from Jack Driscoll. Again, tough, competitive kid, very athletic, smart, savvy, 4-year starter, versatile. A lot to like here with Jack Driscoll. Hope you guys enjoyed this film breakdown inside my film room here at the Duffy house. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Film Room, presented by Chickies and Pete's. We'll see you next time because we're going to jump into John Hightower, the other 4th round pick for the Eagles in 2020.